I know you're well aware of the whole situation.
Yes, sir.
In this case, as you know, you were wearing an Axon Flex body camera, and you pretty much recorded the whole event. You've had an opportunity to read her complaint,
Yes, sir.
to read the Officer Winter's statement who was on the scene with you. And what I'd like you to do right now, Tim, is just start from the beginning, where you were, what you were doing, and how the situation arose.
Okay. I was on routine patrol, just patrolling around in my police car up at Gemini North. Before we got to Greek Park Drive, or before I got to Greek Park Drive, I was heading towards Corporate in Alafaya. I saw a vehicle that was that Ms. King was operating change lanes from the right lane into the left lane, and didn't use her turn signal.
Were you behind her at that time?
I was.
Okay.
If I wasn't behind her, I should say I was in the lane next to her that's behind her, though.
Behind.
Yeah. But when she changed lanes, not signaling, she actually was like cutting off the driver in front.
Okay.
So.
And just so you'll know, I'm going to probably stop you at
No
certain
problem.
points, okay? Just so you can clarify things for me.
Sure.
Did she go past you? Like if you were driving on this, if you were driving, what direction were you driving?
I was driving on Gemini North, getting ready to cross over Greek Park Drive, headed towards Alafaya and Corporate.
Okay, and at this time, was she in front of you?
Yeah, she was in front. I don't know if she was the vehicle directly in front of me, if I was in the lane off to the left, or if I was directly behind her, but she was ahead of me.
Did you have an opportunity to see her operating that vehicle prior to that time? In other words, did she pass you, and did you have an opportunity to see inside that car?
I didn't see who was operating the vehicle at all. After we passed the Greek Park Drive in Gemini, I also noticed when she was braking that she only had one working brake light. So as we approached Alafaya and Gemini North, the intersection there, I got behind her and decided to initiate a traffic stop. She did a U-turn once the light turned green, back on the campus, and pulled off into that little offset that's in front of Sigma Chi. I pulled behind her and walked up, introduced myself, explained the reason why I stopped her. She only had one working brake light. She said that, I can't remember at what point she mentioned, but she said that her health was so bad or something like that. And, we actually get that a lot when we're on traffic stops. There's some medical something, I got to go to the bathroom, or, women are on their period or something like that,
Sure.
Something's going on. So, but the way that she was saying it didn't seem like it was to raise alarm. So I figured that if it was to the point where she absolutely needed medical attention, she would have been responding a little bit differently. I asked her for her license, registration, insurance. She handed me her driver's license and told me that she didn't have the registration. She said it was her mom's car. So I asked her again, well, do you want to look for the registration? Not having it is an additional fine. I asked her several times. I can't tell you exactly how many, but I trying to get her to look for the registration. And she didn't really make any attempt to do so, which kind of raised a little bit of concern for me, because I wasn't sure if she was concealing something in the glove box that she didn't want me to see. Was there a contraband, weapon, anything of the sort? And she just didn't seem like she was too concerned with, trying to produce that registration, even despite it being an additional citable offense. Also, as I'm off here talking in the vehicle, I have my sunglasses on, so it does make things a little bit darker. It's a little bit harder to see through things too, the windows even. And I wasn't really in a position where I could transition from this to a headband at any time tactically during the traffic stop. After she refused to look for the registration, I went back to my vehicle and I decided to issue her a uniform traffic citation. I was actually not citing her for the registration, even though I warned her for it. I was going to give her a fix-it ticket for the brake light being out, for only having one working brake light.
I do have a copy of the original UTC that you were going to issue her, and it's 316610. Is that the fix-it?
Yes, sir. That's fix-it ticket. Yep. So that was the fix-it ticket that I was going to issue. When I look at traffic enforcement, that you're trying to correct the behavior, and she didn't seem too concerned about looking for the registration,
Right.
so I decided to go with the uniform traffic citation.
Okay.
But I did still cut into the brake, you know, right into fix a ticket instead of the registration. After I completed the citation, I reapproached the vehicle. Ms. King only had the window, I believe she had it up all the way at the time. I knocked on the window. She rolled it down a little bit, and I asked her if she could roll it all the way down. She started questioning why I needed it all the way down. You know, I'm paraphrasing, I don't know how many times, you know, I really asked, you know. So I asked her if she could roll it down. She asked why. I told her, you know, for my safety. She seemed very adversarial at that point. You know, I think it was because of the fact that she knew that she was going to be issued a citation. I told her that I liked her, you know, I wanted her to sign the citation. And she was questioning why I need the window down, why I need the window down, and I expressed to her that it was for my safety. At one point, she wound up rolling the window completely up. You know, I again told her, roll down the window. When she wasn't working, you know, after she wasn't rolling in the window, I ordered her out of the vehicle at some point there. I wasn't sure if it was, you know, after she rolled the window up completely and was refusing to get out, or if it was before that. But at some point during that exchange, since she didn't want to roll down the window, I asked her if she could get, or I told her to get out of the vehicle. You know, it's just her whole demeanor during the whole thing was very, you know, it just didn't add up to me. It was, you know, relatively minor infraction, and the refusal to look into the glove box really did raise concern that she might have something in the vehicle that she was trying to conceal. And then when I reapproached the vehicle, she's adversarial during that, not wanting to roll down the window, whereas initially she did roll down the window. You know, again, it started to raise a little bit of concern.
Can you come up with any theory as to why, at first, she was willing to roll her window down, but then after you approached the vehicle after writing the ticket, that she wouldn't? Is there any theory in your mind?
The only thing that I can think of is, I know that she was on the telephone at the time when I walked up, so I wasn't sure if she made a phone call to someone and they were giving her advice over the phone. I mean, it could also be that because she noticed that she was getting a ticket, she wasn't going to be as pleasant, you know, as she was initially. So, you know.
Have you experienced that? I mean, you're a relatively experienced officer. How many years on the job?
Well, between corrections here, it's be 12 years.
Okay, but specifically in traffic enforcement.
Yes, sir.
Do you notice a change in people's demeanor when you're talking to them as opposed to standing there with a citation in your hand?
You do sometimes, you know, it's not an all-the-time thing. You know, I've had people thank me at the end of a traffic stop. You know, it's hit or miss. You know, some of the citations now are, you know, the civil penalties are pretty expensive. So, you know, and I understand that civil penalty could add some sort of financial burden onto them. So I do try to use discretion when I'm issuing citations. Sometimes if the offense is too egregious, I'll still elect to issue the citation. And, you know, I explain to them, and 9 times out of 10 they understand, and we just part ways. You know, everything's cordial. You know, we don't exchange, or, you know, we don't become adversarial at any time.
You or me?
I believe you, sir.
Yes. Okay.
So after I ordered the vehicle, she refused to. She rolled up the window. I walked back to my vehicle, put the ticket book on the hood of my car, and called for backup. Officer Winter was already sitting by Sigma Chi while I was on the traffic stop, just staying in the area while I was on the traffic stop. We do that normally. We back each other up, all of, you know, our squad. We don't necessarily pull behind and turn on the lights to have 2 cars with red and blue lights on, but we'll stay in the area in case, you know, that officer needs backup. So I called for backup. She pulled across. I was still ordering Ms. King, you know, roll down the window or get out of the vehicle. She wasn't complying with that. She rolled down the window at one point, and she said, you know, I can't remember what point, I believe she said sometime that I'm not refusing to sign the citation or something during that point. Because, you know, I understand she's not required to sign the citation, but we never really got to that point. You know, it was kind of leading up to that point. You know, and she wasn't refusing to sign the citation, she just wasn't getting out of the car or rolling down the window. So at one point, Officer Winter's up, we're both ordering her to roll down the window or get out of the vehicle. I see Miss King look over towards Officer Wenner at one point, and the window was cracked, and I saw opportunity where I thought that I could possibly open the door. So I reached in through the window and started to go down towards the unlock button. And at that point, she looked back over, and I warned her. I said, if you roll up the window on my arm, and that's pretty much where I got to. I started feeling the pressure on the window. Now my arm was like, it's kind of hard to explain because I was like reached in like this, sort of. So I know on the camera you're actually seeing off to the left of the window while I'm doing it.
Right.
So you don't really get a clear view of my right arm that's in there. And I realize that there is, because of me reaching in, the sheer nature of how wide the window is open, there's going to be some pressure already on my window. But the second she started pushing down on the button is when I broke the window. Opened the door, ordered her out of the vehicle.
Now, was it your intent to break the window, or what were you trying to do?
I was trying to get my arm out.
Okay.
Well,
you had your right arm in the window, and you reached with your left arm. Okay?
Yeah.
Was it your intent to break the window?
Well, at that point, I can't really tell you what my exact intention was with that. It was just one of those things. My arm was in there, and it was just a split-second decision where, I was pulling my arm out, and then also, I believe I had my left hand on the window, and that's how I actually pulled, on there. It was clear to me that she wasn't being compliant, and at that point, I already decided that I was going to place her under arrest, before that. She was resisting arrest without violence. I try to get her. In a perfect world, I probably would have preferred to break a rear window or something like that, if we had to get into a vehicle to try to, apprehend someone or arrest someone, not the front. But again, once I started reaching into the window, I was kind of committed to that action. I wasn't going to necessarily retreat from that. I made the decision, and that's what I was going to stick with. I broke the window, unlocked the door, got her out, was ordering her to the ground. She was rigid, tense, fighting. I wouldn't say fighting, like punching or anything like that, but she was resisting. Again, still she was a little, tense while we were trying to get her to the ground.
Was she pulling away from you or anything?
She was tensing her, maybe not like jerking her arms away, but she was, trying to, pull them away. It wasn't like, she was, I would say,